Good evening, everybody. 7 o'clock. If you are just joining us, again, as always, if you don't mind, say hello down in the chat bar so I can see who's watching. Like to say hello to you. And as always, we're going to give people a couple more seconds here to jump on. But if you are just joining us, please say hello in the chat. Hi, Miss Jackie. Jeannie and Fred are with us. Good to have you. All right. Well, as we're waiting for some people to get on, we are in our Fearless Immunity class, master class. Good afternoon. Good evening, Tiffany. Good to see you. We are going to be talking about cancer awareness. We are about a couple weeks out of Cancer Awareness Month. Cancer Awareness Month is in October, but cancer is a disease that doesn't happen just in October. It happens every day of the week. So it doesn't matter when it is. We're going to chat about it, and we're going to talk about what's the best way to fight cancer, and that's going to be not to get it. And so we're going to give a few people a few more minutes here, a few more seconds to get started. I'm probably going to switch my screen tonight to where it looks just like this instead of having to see my mug through this whole thing for a couple reasons. One, I have some notes on a slide that I can't see with so many things open. So it'll help me get through that, some of the notes and points that I want to get across. So you can still feel free to ask comments anytime in the chat. And if you have any questions, feel free to do that. And I will answer those either right then and there, or I might take some time at the end to answer them. And we'll hopefully be able to address. So again, it's our Fearless Immunity class. And again, it's about cancer awareness. And the big thing that I want to get across tonight is this is not a talk on how to fight cancer. Again, the best form to fight cancer is not to get it. And my goal tonight is to just what can we do today to help prevent cancer? The best form of fighting it is not getting it. When we talk about cancer, cancer is a very we know at least somebody who has had it, who has died from it, who may be going through it currently. It's 1 out of 3 people. You're going to hear some stats on it, and so instead of just treating the condition, let's treat you, the human being, and treat the body how it's designed to function and fight. So we're going to get started. Hi, Jody. Thanks for joining us. All right. So I'm going to switch the screen, and we're going to move on. So again, if you're joining us, please say hello in the chat, and we'll start going here. So cancer awareness. Before we go on, again, the purpose of this, again, is the standard for natural healthcare that we empower every single person, every single patient that walks into our office and that we come in contact with to live to their full potential. And hi, Mari. Living to our full potential is something that we should be striving for every single day. Are we going to do it every single time? No, but we got to be striving for it. Health is a proactive response, not a reactive response. And it doesn't matter the condition that we're living in or that we may have, whatever morbidity that we have, it is most of our stuff that happens to us is within our lifestyle. We talked about last week, recapping about viruses, and I opened up and I said, who's responsible for your health? And I said, you are. I'm responsible for mine. You're responsible for yours. Yes, we have people around us that are here to help us get through those, but at the same time, we need to take ownership of things that we've done, the things that we consistently do, and understand that sometimes, though we've been doing them for such a long period of time, it doesn't mean that it's right. And so we're going to talk about a little bit of that. And understanding that how our immune system is very important to all this. Again, this whole topic, this whole 6 sessions of topic is your immune system, where we're at. And your immune system, again, is your army. It's what fights everything. And so it fights cancer, it fights viruses, fights bacteria. Your immune system is your army. So we want that to keep functioning. So again, from last week, if you missed that, you can go back down in the feed and read that. We had an awesome guest speaker with Emily on, and she joined us and she talked about different types of immunity and how these viruses penetrated and worked in our body. Really, really good. I actually rewatched it as well just to continue to learn. And so they're on there. So feel free to jump back and look at those. So cancer, the war on cancer. The question is have we failed? Well, back about 49 years ago, President Richard Nixon signed the National Cancer Act and vowed to make cancer a national crusade. So from that point on, he and the government signed into law to try to fight cancer. Well, 49 years ago was when cancer was starting to peak. You look further back into what cancer looked like. Cancer was very not prevalent as we started developing as an international country, and we started developing different types of food, more sugar, more grains in our diet. We started seeing more health conditions changing from not viruses such as smallpox and rickets and things like that. But what we did start seeing is we started seeing other health conditions starting to develop: heart disease, diabetes, and cancers. And so as the president decided to do this act, now all of a sudden we are fighting cancer, and we're still fighting cancer today. Yes, Kelsey, I'll try not to mess up, and if you do, I'm sure you'll tell me if I do. Welcome, and thanks for coming and joining us. As we start looking into cancer, and again, our goal is not to treat it, but it's to not get it. So where are we now? Where are we at with cancer now? 49, 50 years down the road. Here we are. 1 out of 2 men and 1 out of 3 women are projected to develop cancer at some point in their life. And this is from the American Cancer Society. So if we really think about that, that's 50% or a third of the population that's going to have this. And it's from severe cancers to maybe benign. And so it's a high percentage. Why? Because the way we started taking care of it had nothing to do with us taking care of the person. It's us taking care of the disease. And we talked about that in our very first video, how unfortunately, when we start talking about medicine and our type of healthcare system that we have, we look at the disease and we don't take care of the person. And so our job is to take care of the person and let the body do what it's designed to do. In 2014 alone, there were over 1.6 million projected new cases of cancer in the U.S. and over 191,000 in Canada, so in North America. Cancer is the second leading cause of death in children from ages 5 to 4. Pretty serious, especially in this country. Global cancer cases are expected to rise more than 75% in 2030. So when we really start talking about these things, if we just understand where we're at, we're right now in a pandemic with COVID, and we're seeing cases go up. This is a pandemic, people, right here. This and heart disease. The 2 leading causes of death that kill more Americans than anything, it's this. And yes, we have medications for it. We have certain kinds of surgeries for it. But how are we doing? We're doing horrible. 1 out of 2 men are dying, 1 out of 3 women. And so when it comes down to it, we need to really start looking at ourselves and changing what's going on. So the best way to understand and the best way to fight cancer and not get it is to, hold on 1 second. Let me get rid of this here just so you guys can see more. There we go. Best way to do this is to understand what cancer is. So according to the National Cancer Institute, it's a term for disease in which abnormal cells divide without control. Cells that divide without control and can spread to other parts of the body through the blood or lymph system. So again, it's cells that develop out of control. All right. Now, the physiology of a cell, we got to kind of understand how that works. So a lot of us have taken, maybe some of us have taken some cell biology or some biology in at least high school, maybe in college. But our body's made up of trillions of cells which grow and divide for different functions. So we have liver cells, we have skin cells, we have stomach, and they all regenerate and renew. Cancer occurs when this process does not do that, when it doesn't regenerate. Cancer is it's an out of control growth of abnormal cells forming to be a tumor or tumor-like. And so every cell, we got to understand, has a life cycle, and it dies at a certain point. The terminology is called apoptosis, where the cell just breaks down and dies and regenerates. But the difference is between cancers, cancer cells do not die. So the question is why? Is cancer unsuccessful? And cancer equals an unsuccessful immune system. And, cancer in the body has natural immune responses that our immune response cannot successfully kill. In other words, cancer is a result of a rapid production of damage or disease-causing cells that overcome the body's ability to fight them off. We have a gene in our body called P53. And this is one thing I get a lot of questions on. It's like, well, I've had family that has genes, or I got genes in my hip. Sorry, can't speak right now. I have a family history. There we go. That I have cancer or heart disease. Well, we know for a fact that the gene, or P53 gene, is responsible for destroying cells for their cell lifespan. But what happens in cancer, this gene is not activated, and then the cancer cell begins to develop. So a lot of medications are designed to try to help with this gene, to help activate it, to help fight it, outside of the traditional therapies such as cutting it out, burning it out, or putting chemicals on it. So a cut, poison, and burn kind of treatment. So cancer equals an unsuccessful immune response. Our immune system cannot beat it off because of certain things going on. So what are some things that cause cancer? Okay, if we can understand things that cause cancer, then we can do some things in our lifestyle to change that. So the cause of cancer and all disease is when cells become toxic, okay, or have a decrease in function. So here are some of the main points of a healthy cell. Understand this. If we can get these 4 things down, we will be doing great. Healthy cells use oxygen for fuel. Hence why it's very important that we move around. We get oxygen in our body. We're going to be talking about that in a couple of weeks from now. Certain types of fitness. We're actually going to talk about some of it today as well. But getting oxygen in the body. Exercise should not be about losing weight. It should be about getting oxygen in the body and keeping the body strong. Healthy cells do not use sugar as fuel. Yes, it takes sugar in to burn and creates ATP, but it doesn't not just thrive on just that alone. Healthy cells live in a slightly alkaline environment, which means your pH is more on the alkaline side than more the acidic side. And one of the most important things, it needs proper nerve supply. Where a cancer cell is more of it uses sugar for fuel. And that's one of the things that people don't realize. Cancer lives off of sugar. It has 5 times the receptors for sugar than it does oxygen. And that is one reason why when you get a PET scan, they use radioactive sugar to find out where the cancer tumor is because they have 5 times the receptors and they can find out where the cancer is. It does not use oxygen for fuel. It lives in an acidic environment, a very high acidic environment. Does not need proper nerve supply because it can survive on its own. Okay? So with those things alone, we want to start looking at certain things that cause it. So what are some lifestyles? Well, the first thing we got to do, and just like anything we do, is we got to overcome our fear of what cancer is. I know for a fact, and I've seen this in my own family, and I'm sure if that ever happened to me, there would probably be some thought in my mind. But if you were ever diagnosed with cancer, the first thing that's probably going to pop in your mind is, this is not good. Am I going to die? What's it going to be like? Because we have classified cancer as a death sentence. And when we start looking at our mindset, why can't we look at cancer any different than we look at a virus or any other kind of condition? Well, and it's because when we start looking at the treatment of cancer and our success rate of defeating cancer, it's very poor because of the way that we're approaching it. Again, we're trying to kill the disease instead of helping the person to try to prevent it. Why aren't we teaching people now? Why isn't the heads of cancer, or the medical profession, outside of the alternative docs, teaching people how to live a healthier lifestyle so that we can prevent some of these conditions? Because we're all about the fast, quick, right now, I want to live in the moment type of mentality. And so once we are diagnosed with one of these conditions, we live off of fear. And I just had a conversation with a patient this afternoon, my last patient, and he was diagnosed with prostate cancer a couple of years ago. And, they wanted to cut him open, and they also wanted to radiate him. And he said, no, I'm going to do some other things on my own. Well, they told him, he's going to have a painful death in the next six months. Well, 2 years later, he just got some scans back. He was sharing with me today that everything came back clean. They have no idea what happened. And not because of us or anything like that, is because one of the things he started is he didn't take cancer as a fear issue. He took cancer as, this is a condition that I've created, and this is a condition, if I can create it, I can get rid of it. And those were exactly his words. And now he's having tests that are showing that are baffling doctors of what happened to your prostate cancer. So let's look at cancer. If we're ever diagnosed with this, let's not look at it as, it's a fearful thing, I'm going to die, but how do we approach it and how do we change it? Well, one of the biggest things is when we want to look at is we want to get people through. A lot of you guys know this. If we can master these 5 essentials, I'm telling you, if we can master these 5 essentials consistently, the chances are going to be great. These 5 essentials are the philosophy of the cancer, the 5 essentials. It's going to help build your body to be strong. So we got to look at the core of your function, and that's your nervous system. We got to look at nutrition. We got to look at our mindset. We got to get oxygen. We got to minimize toxins. The 5 essentials are built on the principle that healthy lifestyles sustain your well-being or maintain your health and helps prevent disease. We got to approach life with these 5 essentials because it helps you develop long-term healthy behaviors that will become a part of your life and hopefully your family's life as well. And so how do we embrace these 5 essentials? Again, we got to start with mindset. And the biggest thing to him that he was telling me tonight was the thing that he had to change was his mindset. One, he had to not live in fear that he was going to have this horrific death. But what he was going to do is he had to change the way he thought. He had to change the way he responded. He had to change the way he was eating. He had to look at things different. You had to clean the misalignment, the subluxation in the head first to start looking at that. There's a study done in 2003 by the Institute of Heart Math. And the test subjects were trained to generate focused feelings that were able to initiate a cause of change in the shape of their DNA. So what they did is they told them to really start meditating on focus on negative emotions. And what they were testing when they saw those negative emotions, that the strands of the DNA, they wound tighter. And in the test group that had a positive of emotions such as love and peace, those kinds of things, caused the DNA strands to unwind, and the positive change only happened within 2 minutes. And so the power of the mind is huge. We don't understand that because we don't know how to educate our mind to do that. We don't know how to focus. We don't know how to just sit down and really work on our mindset. So mindset is key when it comes to anything, but especially when it comes to fighting cancer or even not getting it. Stress is this mindset piece that we have to look at. A lot of us are stressed out. Look at us today. I mean, I tell you, today was a day that I just nodded my head at, unfortunately, about humanity and how sad humanity is getting with this pandemic, with masks, with staying at home and all of this. And yes, it is a bummer, and it affects me as well. But man, if we continue to let this bring us down, we are just creating toxicity within our body. Mind over medicine is a huge a book that you should kind of look at and read. It's a very good book. It talks about how powerful your mind is, powerful thought and suggestion is, and how it can change cells and DNA, kind of where the study came from. So it's a great book, Mind Over Medicine. You want something to read, check that out. It's pretty good. But one of the things that it stated is that stress is toxic to the body in many ways. Think about it. There are different kinds of stresses in our body. Yes, we have, physical stress, we have emotional stress, but they break it down as more of what we call acute stress and chronic stress. And this acute stress is a short-term stress, that is caused by something specific or a certain circumstance, such as, like, say, a deadline needs to be due, or traffic was crazy, road rage, whatever it may be. It's temporary, and it basically dies off as the circumstance resolves. Okay, a lot of us live in a short-term or an acute stress situation, but the devastating effect is the chronic stress. The chronic stress is a bit different. This is stuff that is constantly weighing on our body. It's caused by a variety of things. It may be caused by life situations, such as a stressful job or some family issues, or maybe just even a health concern. So chronic stress is determined, this is a statement from the book, chronic stress is determined to your health. Stress shuts down the immune system, leaving your body more susceptible to disease, and they may also promote tumor growth. So stress we know for a fact increases inflammation. And inflammation is one of the biggest triggers and one of the biggest causes, which can cause a risk of cancer. So how do we manage our stress? Again, that's a mindset. How do we look at things? What is our perspective on it? What's our perception? What's our belief on it? What's our action upon it? There's some stuff called cognitive psychology, and I really like to teach that in our mindset class when we talk about how does our mind work. And when we can all be in a group, and we can all be looking out a building and looking outside, and maybe there's a fire. And all of a sudden, I may look at the window and go, wow, look at that fire. And one of you guys may say, oh my gosh, we need to call the fire department and run. One may just cower down and just start closing up and can't move. We see the same thing out there, but what happened is our mind saw this perception. It created a belief, which then created an emotion. So it saw an event, created emotion, created a belief, and then the action followed. Maybe I just stood there and looked at it and cheered, like, look at that fire. And the other one ran with the heart rate racing. Well, that goes with stress. Anytime we have negative stress, that constantly builds upon ourselves, and then all of a sudden it creates chemical reactions, a lot of cortisol in our body and so forth. So the negative effects of stress is huge, and it's changing our mindset, changing our perception of how we look at things. The second thing we got to look at is nutrition. Of course, a lot of people know nutrition. There's many different diets out there. You can find cancer diet books. You can find so many different things. But if we just look at the anatomy of a cell and start looking at what the body needs to function, I listed a couple things here that we need. One, we need, if you're taking any notes, we need 6 essentials for every cell. One is going to be the amino acids, 22 amino acids, which make up the proteins. We also need antioxidants. We need good fatty foods or fatty acids. We need live enzymes. We need certain vitamins, and we need trace minerals. If we can establish those via our diet or via nutraceuticals, we're going to give our body the best chance to function like it's designed to thrive. So when we start looking at foods, we got to look at certain foods that are affecting our body, okay? And the things that we want to look at is our fats, okay? Now, fats come from, of course, oils, but a lot of meats, from fish to chicken to beef to bison. And so we wanted to look at what types of foods that we need to eat so that we are getting good fats instead of bad fats. One of the main causes of cellular hypoxia, or decreased oxygen into a cell, in particular when it causes cancer, is that the outer cell membrane of a cell does not have proper fluidity between itself. And so because it lacks omega-3 fatty acids. So the outer ring of a cell is a fat layer, and they're basically omega-3s. In order for the cell membrane to function efficiently, the ratio of essential fatty acids, or omega-3s, must be different research on it. Most of it comes down to what we call a 50% omega-3s to 50% omega-6s and 9s. Okay. Nowadays, studies are showing that people have a ratio of what they call a 5% of omega-3s to a 95% omega-6 and 9. So more of the bad fats than the good fats, which one might say, so what? Well, the problem is that omega-3s make up the membrane fluid. A lack of omega-3s will block passages of oxygen into the cell, causing hypoxia or decreased oxygen. When you have decreased oxygen, then now the cell can't function, and guess what cancer cells begin to live off of? Non-oxygenated cells. So again, when we have an hypoxia, the cell may change and the respiration becomes not anaerobic but aerobic, and so it becomes more acidic. So a serious risk factor of cancer. So we want to get oxygen in, and we want to have good fats in. So to make good exchange of oxygen, we got to have great fats. Okay. So what are some damaging fats that you guys know? I'm sure if I was to ask you guys, what are some damaging fats? Everybody that's at least on this line has heard me talk about this, but let's just go ahead and give it to you that there's some new people out there. We have vegetable oil. Vegetable oil is one. We also have peanut oil, canola oil, shortening. These are all huge saturated fats that are high in omega-6s and omega-9s. And those are in a lot of processed foods. They are designed to have high heat for cooking. So those are the type of oils or the fats that we want to decrease. As we look at good fats, however, have a higher ratio of omega-3s. And we know those are going to be more anti-inflammatory fats. Omega-3 fatty acids help boost like brain health, heart health, and promote good cholesterol. So increasing your omega-3 fatty acids will include proteins such as cold water fish, wild-caught fish, nuts, seeds, avocado, grass-fed meats, free-range chickens. We want to avoid a lot of the commercial grade. So if you're more on the vegetarian or vegan type, of course, you don't worry about too much of those meats, but you want to definitely get some good fats in. But we got to understand that cells are made from amino acids, and we need to get good amino acids in. And most of those 22 amino acids come from some sort of protein. Okay, so getting rid of your bad fats and entering good fats. Okay, now part of this comes into with your commercial meats and your pasteurized meats. Okay, so again, we found a lot of studies have been out there that your commercial meats have a fat ratio of 50 to 1. So when we start looking at protein itself, we want it to be more of a 4 to 1 ratio. What that means is 4 omega-6s to omega-3s. I know it sounds crazy, to 1 omega-3. Well, those are very important to the cell layer instead of a 50 to 1. And so when we start looking at commercial meats, they're more 50 to 1, where pasteurized or grass-fed are more 4 to 1. So spend money towards more if you eat protein, more towards a grass-fed, grass-finished type of protein, free-range chicken, wild-caught cold water fish. Want to definitely watch out for farm-raised, for conventional meats, because that's where the bad fats is. Most of the time, we get our fats from our proteins, and we're buying cheaper meats for whatever reasons, and that's where we're getting most of our bad fats. So watch out for the bad fats. This week, I want you guys to your challenge is to remove some damage, some of these damaging fats, and switch over your meats. A good thing to do this week, and start doing it if you're not doing that already. So what are things that you want to remove? If you have vegetable oil, canola oil, peanut oil, any kind of those corn oil, get rid of those and start replacing them with either olive oil, coconut oil, avocado oil. Those are some 3 great oils you can use that have good omega-3s. And then, of course, you want to start changing some of your meats. We want to watch out for a lot of deli meats or salamis because they have a lot of sodium nitrates in them. There are some healthier ones if this is a staple in your guys' diet, but you also want to make sure there's not a lot of sodium and nitrates in them because the risk of cancer is higher in those because of what your body converts sodium nitrates to. Okay. Processed foods that have bad fats cause inflammation 100% of the time. So we want to reduce inflammation in our body. We want to definitely start reducing our fat intake, our bad fat intake. Good fats decrease inflammation, so higher omega-3s. So if you know that your diet is definitely consisting of of high omega-6s and 9s, it's always good to just start adding a lot more omega-3s and start to counterbalance that. A good thing to do too is also test your fatty acid ratios. We can do that in our office to see where your fatty acids are, and then we can give you a better path to take the right path to take the proper nutrition to lower those fats or increase the fats. Okay. One of the biggest things we got to really look at is understanding or minimizing our toxins. And we talked a lot about this last time too, because toxicity is one of the biggest causes of cancers in our body. And one of the areas that we get a bunch of our toxins is through what we eat in our foods. The EPA has found that indoor pollutants can in some cases be higher, 100 times more polluted in the inside than it is on the outside. So think about that. Pollutants are higher on the inside of your house than they are on the outside of your house. Why is that? Because houses nowadays are sealed tighter than ever for efficiency of electricity, and all of the glues and paints that they put in, we're breathing those in. So think about it when you buy a brand new house or a brand new car. We have tons and tons of chemicals in these brand new fabrics and leathers and carpets and glues that, yes, the new car smell for some people smell great, but very toxic for you, for sure. Toxins in household cleaners are 3 times more likely to cause cancer than air pollution. Okay, so here's even something better. So the cleaning chemicals that we put in, we talked a lot about this last week. We're going to talk a lot about this a little bit more in a few classes down the road. But household cleaners are 3 times more likely to cause cancer than air pollution. So I had a lot of people email me or texting me or responding back of what are some good cleaners to use. There's a lot of brands out there. There's grocery stores are starting to sell some healthier green, if you will, greener cleaning solutions. Like I said, it's kind of hypocritical. You walk into my office, you're going to see a bunch of Clorox wipes in our office because we have to because of COVID, but I'd rather not use those things. So, there's essential oil cleaners, there's Green Earth, there's Method. There's a lot of different things out there you can use. If you start changing just your household cleaners, it'll be huge, especially in your laundry detergent, your dishwashing detergent, so forth. Those will definitely help. Check this out, ladies. It looks like a lot of ladies here online here. There's women who take 1 ibuprofen daily for 5 years increase the risk of breast cancer by 50%. Now, I know a lot of people. I've been a doctor for 21 years, and I look at medications that people take, and ibuprofen or aspirin or Motrin or these just over-the-counter non-steroid, anti-steroid NSAID. Sorry, I'm having a hard time speaking right now. I'm hungry. Matter of fact, this is what my problem is. Some of these over-the-counter medications are causing more havoc. We do it because we have pain or we can't sleep or have some aches and pains. But take 1 a day for the next 5 years, the increased risk of breast cancer. And that's from the National Institute of Cancer. When women take 1 aspirin daily for 5 years, the risk of breast cancer increased 80%. So by eliminating that part of the toxin out of your body to reduce inflammation, let's find some healthier ways to reduce the inflammation than using ibuprofen or aspirin. Antibiotic use associated with an increase in breast cancer. So if you're on chronic antibiotics, it beats up your gut. And we talked about this last week where your digestive tract is, or your colon is where 70% of your immune system starts. And we started getting rid of bad flora or good flora, as well as the bad, we start to decrease our immune system. So what are some things that we can do outside of doing fats? Let's minimize some of our toxins. Let's just see what we're putting into our body. Some of these things that we really don't need to take, there's some alternative things we can take to help reduce inflammation. And let's start looking at our diet first. Let's reduce inflammatory foods. Again, we talked about those fats. Let's add good fats in. If you're someone that takes ibuprofen or aspirin for pain or achiness, there's other things that you can take that are more natural that's going to be better on your body, such as boswellia root. White willow bark. You can take curcumin, which you're going to see some studies on that here shortly. So there's a lot of things that you can do to help with that inflammation, so reduce those. toxins in our food. As we know, there's so many toxins all around us, including in our food. And these toxins are such as like glycophosphates and BPAs and heavy metals, and they're just dangerous overall to our bodies. And glyphosates are like a herbicide that they spray on the vegetables and our plants, and it's basically what's in Roundup. And it's used in multiple different crops, which ends up in our food. And then all of a sudden, the Cancer Institute has declared that this chemical is one of the biggest causes of cancer in our body. It's very carcinogenic. BPAs are in plastic, so plastic bottles, plastic containers. And what do those do? They affect our immune system. They disrupt our endocrine system, especially our hormones. That's what we see most. Affects our thyroid and our adrenals. And so these things consist of plastic or food containers. It's in cardboard. And what they do is they just leak into our food and they accumulate in our body. If you guys remember from last week, we showed a bucket, and the bucket is the cell, and we have this water filling up this bucket, and we don't feel the effects of it until it starts to overflow. And that's what happens throughout time, is when our body gets so toxic with everything that we're involved in, then we start manifesting the symptoms, and one of the main symptoms, it can show up as cancer. One of the biggest questions we get is as a toxic accumulation in fish. Oh, Dr. Joe, don't eat tuna because of the mercury. And yes, that is true. Larger fish such as tuna has definitely a higher marking of mercury. Well, what happens is mercury enters water typically through industrial waste. So these industrial plants that are just dumping or use water as a coolant for a plant, they get into the water, leach in the water. This then then what happens is the bacteria takes this mercury and turns it into methyl mercury. And then what happens is these small animals these small fish begin to eat this bacteria, and then it gets into the smaller fish. The smaller fish get eaten by the bigger fish, and next thing you know, the larger fish are being accumulated by eating some of the smaller fish. So that's how this starts getting into our food supply. So the term is sometimes called toxic accumulation. And what happens is it starts to accumulate in our body. Again, think of that bucket as it starts to fill up, and then all of a sudden when it overdoses, then all of a sudden the body now accumulates, and now we just start to develop into sickness, disease, inflammation, and most of all, more prone to having cancer. So the best thing you want to do is you want to minimize like some big fish, so like tuna, which is one of the most toxic ones. To minimize these toxins, choose more, like we talked about earlier, cold water or wild-caught fish, some smaller fish, or things like salmon, freshwater fish. Good source. One of the biggest things that we don't realize is where a lot of our toxicity starts. Look at this. Thought this would be a good little stat for you to see. I mentioned this last time as well, that our children are more toxic now than they've ever been before, because toxicity passes down through generations. And here's some studies that show. So American Red Cross, 2005, took samples of the fetal cord of the blood of 10 newborns and found 287 chemicals inside the sample. And they found from Teflon to byproducts to flame retardants to phthalates to dioxins, a lot of these chemicals in cleaning solutions, cookingware, detergents, and so forth. Study from a journal of neurotoxicology took samples of infants' first bowel movements and found 84% contained mercury, 27% contained lead, and 27 had DDT, which is a pesticide banned in the United States. We get a lot of DDT from foods that are from other countries, because DDT is not illegal in Mexico. So sometimes when we get foods from Mexico, there's DDT on those foods if we don't wash them or peel them or whatever we do. So again, we're accumulating toxicity, and our children are getting it because they're getting it from us. And so the biggest thing is we gotta be careful, because we're passing it down through generations. The importance of exercise, oxygen. We talked about how we want to increase oxygen. So oxygen is very important. I don't know how many of you guys are moving as far as doing any kind of exercise routine. I told you guys yesterday, just at least get around and walk. Well, we need to do a little bit more than walking, especially if you're just getting out to exercise. Start that, build up some strength and some endurance. And then one of the best things we can do is start to increase the intensity of our workout. There has been tons of strong evidence that physical activity is associated with the risk I said that wrong. There's a strong evidence that physical activity is associated to reduce the risk of colon cancer and breast cancer. Several studies have also reported links between physical activity and reduced risk of endometrial, lung, and prostate cancer. Exercise may even help survival rates in breast and colon cancer. So this has all come from the National Institute of Getting Out and Moving. So one of the reasons why we created our boot camp over 12 years ago was we wanted to get people active. And we started doing what we would call surge training or HIIT training or metabolic training. The names have been changed throughout the years, but it started out to be what we call surge training. And it's a high intensity, short duration workout, something that you can do in 10, 12, 15 minutes max. And a good thing to do if you're at home, or maybe you don't want to go to a gym, or you don't want to do any kind of workouts. This is a great workout that you can do to start increasing oxygen into your cells. Let's just say we have a treadmill at home, or an elliptical machine, or some kind of cardiovascular. Maybe it's a bike. It's something that's going to give you a little bit of cardio. What you want to do is you want to get your heart rate up. So you want to start exercise. You want to go as hard as you can, as fast as you can for 20 seconds. And then you want to rest for 20 seconds. Then you want to go for 20 seconds, and then you want to rest for 20 seconds. And you want to do several sets of those for at least 12 to 15 minutes. The research has shown between 12 and 15 minutes will give you huge benefits of getting oxygen in the body, increasing human growth hormone, decreasing inflammation. Fat burning is a result of just moving. So a lot of things with surge or burst or metabolic or HIIT training. It's to get your heart rate up and then bring it down. Get your heart rate up and to bring it down. Simple to do. Just set a timer for 15 minutes. Say it's on your treadmill. Run for 20 seconds. Rest for 20 seconds. Run for 20 seconds. Rest for 20 seconds. You will feel it, but once you continue to do it, you'll be amazed of how much your cardiovascular will improve. Once you do that for say 4 times, then you can take a 2-minute rest. Get your heart rate down. Do another set. So maybe 20 seconds on, 20 seconds off, 20 seconds on, 20 seconds off. So do 4 sets of 20 seconds on, rest for 2 minutes, and go again. That's a good way to start. So getting oxygen in. Nutraceuticals. Vitamin D. Okay, we talked a lot about this last time. I can't wait to show the slide. The slide is powerful. Vitamin D, again, is the most studied vitamin that is out there. And research shows that vitamin D can help kill cancer cells. Joellen Welsh is a researcher at the University of New York, and she was on ABC. This was now been about 6 or 7 years ago. And what she discovered was within a few days, half the cancer cells shriveled up and died when vitamin D was administered to patients that had breast cancer. And this is what really kicked off a lot of the true studies of vitamin D. So when we look at this, hopefully you guys can see this. One of the things you want to do is you want to get your blood work done to see where your vitamin D levels are, okay? Right now, if you look at this graph, at the very top, you'll see it says U.S. serum. So we want to look at the numbers at the very top. At the very top, you'll see 6, 8, 10, 12, goes all the way over to the right, which is, I believe, 68. The labs that are tested today, normal is somewhere between 6 and 20, because what it was for, what vitamin D was discovered to do was help with bone. So when people have osteopenia, osteoporosis, vitamin D, they want you to take calcium and vitamin D. Well, when vitamin D was discovered, it was to help rickets. You can see that at the very bottom. Well, how many of you have experienced rickets or know anybody that has rickets? We don't have any of that anymore, right? But what they started to test is when you increase your vitamin D, look at the cancers that it helps with or other conditions. So when we're taking our vitamin D, we want our vitamin D level at a minimum to be 25, 26, but as high to 65 because it helps with cancers all combined. Breast cancer, ovarian cancer, colon cancer, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, type 1 diabetes. This is all of the conditions that they showed that vitamin D can help with. 77% with calcium for all cancers combined. Breast cancer was 38 at a minimum of 32, 83% effective at 52. Okay, that is huge. So taking vitamin D is very important, and make sure you get it tested. So if vitamin D test is very inexpensive, get that done. If you're, in the low teens or 20s, which most people are because we're in buildings, especially in the summer, most people are afraid to get out in the sun because of skin cancer. We're decreasing that. We want to increase our vitamin D levels, and we want to definitely be up into that 60 range for sure. So definitely get that tested. If that's something you need help with, let us know, and we'll be glad to definitely help you with that. Okay. All right. Curcumin. A lot of people are taking this because it's a great anti-inflammatory. Curcumin is the active compound of turmeric. Okay. And turmeric is that orange spice color that's in Indian food. And personally, me being Indian, I love this stuff. It is good. But, research has shown that curcumin is very beneficial for a variety of uses, including inflammation reduction. So a lot of people do that for swollen joints or just chronic internal inflammation, joint health, and more. However, research has also shown that curcumin is beneficial for the reduction of cancer risk. And so what they have, because you're reducing inflammation, it decreases the cancer of growth. So this vitamin or this herb, this food is used a lot in the Eastern cultures to help fight cancers. One study found that curcumin helped to kill and deplete or eliminate cancer cells without harming healthy cells. Okay. Well, what does the medical side do? What is treatment for cancer? Treatment for cancer is you either cut it out, you burn it, or you poison it, right? And most of the time when you do any of those, you're going to be taking good cells out. Well, you want to try to keep as many good cells out, and some of the studies are showing with curcumin that they keep healthy cells going and kill the bad. So that's awesome. Turmeric could be added onto food, so you can get this straight out. The best way to get this is actually go to an Asian market. It's a lot cheaper than going to the regular grocery store. I buy a big container for like $9, and it'll last forever. So you can get curcumin and turmeric at Asian markets that are really good. You can also get it in pill form. You got it in pill form as well. All right. So DIM helps reduce or regulate hormones for breast and prostate cancer. Typically, this is given to men and women to help balance out hormones. It's good. It helps break down estrogen. So men, if men are taking testosterone, what will happen is if they don't burn a lot of it, they will actually convert, and it'll convert into estrogen. And one of the big side effects when men take testosterone, they will start to develop mammary tissue or breast tissue, because the testosterone is not being burnt fast enough or used, and it converts into estrogen. So DIM helps regulate that. Same thing as it also helps estrogen. So it's a balance out. So DIM is very important to help just regulate hormones for both women and men. So if you're high estrogen, definitely DIM is a good supplement. Now, where can you find DIM? DIM is typically in your cruciferous vegetables, as you can see, broccoli and Brussels sprouts and cauliflower. There are a lot of people that can't have these as far as eating them. They affect their stomach. They're sensitive to it. So DIM is definitely a supplement that you can do to take to help reduce it. It shows that, what was it? I'm trying to see if I think I put that in here as a study. It's shown that eating 2 pounds of cruciferous vegetables only supply the body of about 20 to 30 milligrams of DIM, making the supplement a little bit more beneficial. So you would have to eat a lot of cruciferous vegetables to help get that down. And if you're a vegetarian, that might be something to do. If you're not, you have a hard time eating veggies, then of course getting a pill form is best. But DIM is very, very important for that. And garlic. Who does not like garlic? If you don't like garlic, you say something in this comment, because I'm going to say something nice to you if you don't like garlic. Garlic is so good. I don't care if your breast stinks. Have a lot of garlic. Garlic has this product or this Come on, Joe. My brain's going here. It has a product in it called allicin. And allicin is a natural antibiotic. It is used to fight bacterial infections. I remember this was about 6 years ago. I had a patient who was from Poland. They went down to Poland to see their family. Their daughter was sitting on their dad's shoulders. For some reason, she leaned back, fell off her shoulders, cracked her head open, ended up getting MRSA in Poland. And the doctors didn't give her any antibiotics. What they gave her was garlic. They put fresh garlic on the wound. They gave her allicin to take. And within a few weeks, she was MRSA-free. Pretty powerful. And garlic has been linked to reduce a lot of certain types of cancers. It can obviously be consumed. You can take it in a pill form. Yes, you're going to smell very pungent, but garlic is a very good herbal vegetable that you should definitely be implementing in your diet. Lastly, we also talked about this last week, is probiotics. Why is probiotics good? It's because, again, where does our immune system start? It starts in our gut. Probiotics are naturally occurring bacteria in our gut. Probiotics have several health-enhancing and beneficial effects. Certain bacteria strains have been heavily researched to assist with digestive support, immune support, and basically maintain and restore healthy microflora in the gut. Your gut is the control and regulates a variety of processes, basically making probiotics essential for cancer reduction. Some research has shown that an unhealthy gut and unbalanced bacteria is one of the first factors in developing of certain cancers. So be sure to populate your gut with healthy probiotics through fermented food and supplementation. So you hear of like kimchi and things that are fermented, and kombucha. These are all great things to help stimulate natural probiotics in the gut. There are some tests out there. My wife and I did a test called Viome. Got it online, and it was like a couple $100. It was a stool sample to test your gut flora, where the inflammation is, how much good bacteria, how much bad, what are you lacking in good, or how much bad growth you got, and very thorough test to really see what the gut lining is. And my wife and I were pretty impressed with this test. We are doing some things this test told us we should do to check ourselves out. And if it's something that works really well, we're going to really start promoting it for our patients. But you want to research it. It's called Viome, Viome. And it's been pretty good. They have their own supplementation to help regulate specifically for you, depending on what's going on. It's all geared around your gut. It's all geared around probiotics. It's all geared about digesting food, and it's all about building your immune system. So very good test. So taking probiotics is very, very powerful. Of course, we have supplementation. If it's something that you need, of course, you can always go to our website at meridiandocs.com/store. And you can type in these if it's something that's easier for you to get. We have some of these in stock in our office. If not, it's easier just to order online. It'll come shipped directly to you. Just great products for the supplements that we were talking about. And then, so in 2 weeks, we're going to be going over the nervous system, my wheelhouse, where we come from, and what our nervous system does and how it builds up our immune system. So November 24th, 7 o'clock, again, live on Facebook and YouTube, we're going to be talking about how important our nervous system is for our immune system. And what do we need to do to help keep that going? So we want you to definitely join us for that. There's a lot of stuff in this. In cancer, normally when we do a cancer talk, it's a 3-hour talk. So I try to knock this out in an hour. I know it was pretty fast. I want you just to summarize this. The goal to help fight cancer is not to get it. If we can work on the 5 essentials, your mindset, your spine, nutrition, exercise, detoxification, if we can work on those 5 things, the chances of us getting it are a lot lower than us not doing it. Our goal is not to treat you with cancer. It's not to say do these things if you have it. When you do have it, there's other things that you should be doing, a lot more intense stuff you should be doing. Because again, if we understand what cancer lives off of, it doesn't live off oxygen, it lives off sugar. So eliminating sugar is huge. Increasing dosages of supplementation, specific supplementation, depending on the type of cancer, is probably very vital. And so again, this is not how to treat cancer, it's how do we prevent it? What can you do to prevent it? And so if you guys have any questions, feel free to put something here down in the chat, in the comment section, and I will definitely see what I can do to answer them. But yes, thank you guys. Thank you for joining. Please, if you again have any questions, feel free to ask. Sorry about the starting. I am starving. I haven't eaten since lunch, and I think my blood sugar is going down. I didn't have a chance to grab something to eat before starting. So I apologize. Hopefully it made a bunch of sense to you. And again, ask any questions or any comments down here, and I'll be glad to answer them. I'll give you at least a couple seconds here. If no one has it, we'll be done. I see Janice. Thanks, Janice, for joining us in El Paso, Texas. Lucille joined us. Good to see you, Lucille. Any questions, anybody? All right. Well, you guys are all welcome. Thank you guys for joining us. I don't see any questions. Feel free, if you do, you can still ask them. I'll be checking the post. These will still post. Hey, Steve, good to see you. Another one listening from El Paso. I'll be, Lucille's in Arizona. Wow. All right. Where's that going? If you have any questions, feel free. You can still post them in the comments, and we will be able to answer them then. Or if you see them in the office, we'll be able to answer. If you need any supplementation, again, you can go onto our website, meridiandocs.com, and /store. You can order those. Outside of that, thank you guys. Thank you for taking the time. God bless you guys, and we will see you hopefully sooner than later.